Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Buddhist Recovery Network Academy. I'm Thomas Valentine, and today we're offering a new Academy teaching by Kevin Griffin, Living Kindness, Buddhist Teaching for a Troubled World. Thank you for being here and joining our Sangha today. So for the next half hour, we're going to begin with a short meditation, followed by a 15-minute Dharma talk, and ending with 10 minutes of questions and answers or reflection. So all of our teachings are given freely, and we're blessed with some amazing teachers who have experience on the cushion and experience working with the mind and body, experience in the ongoing practice of everyday recovery every day with the Dharma. As we practice the Buddhist teaching of generosity, we invite you to give dana that will be given in support of ongoing Buddhist Recovery Network meetings and to support the teacher. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link for dana into the chat field. And so if you are to give dana, just be sure to indicate that the donation is for the Academy. And we sincerely thank you for your generosity. I'll go ahead and post that in there. And then I'll post that in there at the end too. Okay, and then on that note, let me tell you a bit about the teacher we have coming on tonight. We have Kevin Griffin, who is a Buddhist teacher and author known for his innovative work connecting Dharma and recovery, especially through his 2004 book, One Breath at a Time, Buddhism and the 12 Steps. He has been a Buddhist practitioner for over 35 years and a teacher for 2 decades. His latest book is Living Kindness, Buddhist Teachings for a Troubled World. To learn more and see his teaching schedule, go ahead and visit www.kevingriffin.net. And thank you for joining us, Kevin. I'm going to go ahead and send an invite for you.
Thank you, Thomas. I should include in my bio that I am a co-founder of the Buddhist Recovery Network, which we founded in 2008. But I'm not actively a member of the board or anything anymore. It was important to let the network grow, I think. Anyway, I'm happy to be part of this today. And since we have so little time, let's just get right into the meditation. We're just going to do about 5 minutes of sitting. So I will give a little guidance and we can sit. Go inside a bit. You can close your eyes or just lower your gaze. And just connect with your body, what you're feeling right now. Whatever energies are present physically, emotionally. Allowing that, having a sense of openness, receptivity, the quality of mindfulness is also one of curiosity. What am I experiencing right now? Connecting with the breath in the body. What does that feel like? Letting the breath be an anchor to the present moment. And even if the mind is still active, to try to just sense the breath in the body. This practice isn't about shutting down thought, really changing our relationship to thoughts. not being so caught up in believing the thoughts that arise, not being so disturbed by them. Thoughts come and go. And the breath is always here in this present moment. Always here as our refuge, our anchor. Notice if your thoughts are in conflict with you. Are they thoughts of judgment, grasping? And seeing if you can bring an attitude of kindness to yourself, compassion, forgiveness. We are imperfect beings. There's no need to punish ourselves for that. This is just how things are. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the themes of my latest book, which is called Living Kindness. And the title Living Kindness is meant to resonate for Buddhists with the traditional teaching called loving kindness, and to expand on the idea of loving kindness into something that is more pervasive in our lives, not just something we do in a cushion. I see a note that you can hardly hear me. Ooh, okay. I will get closer to the microphone. So the kind of question that I'm working with is the starting question is, what is love, and how do we understand that? I think that we have a very limited idea of what that means. Sort of an idea that love is about liking things. Like I like ice cream, but I don't really love ice cream. And so then maybe that it's easy to understand what liking means. But when we look at what the Buddha says about love, first of all, he, to a great extent, he emphasizes non-hatred, which is kind of typical Buddhist view of sort of looking at the opposite or the negative of something as a way of getting at it, rather than naming something that we're going to grasp onto. So non-ill will is a phrase we see a lot, which I think that in itself is a great idea in terms of bringing something positive into our lives. I'm kind of an aversive type, and I'm really not that moved by niceness. I'm not sure I even trust niceness to a certain extent. I trust care and help and action, I guess, more than just that kind of smiley niceness that I run into sometimes in Dharma centers, particularly if I'm not being too tough. But to get at some more of a definition of what love is, in the Loving Kindness Sutta, the Buddha says, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. So the love of a mother protecting her child is not liking so much. In fact, as a parent, I know that there are times when I can be quite annoyed with my child, but I still take care of her. I still will feed her and take care of her needs. So I've come to kind of define love more as care than as affection or liking. So since I have very little time, let me bring this then back to the question of addiction and recovery. And we can see that addictive behavior is the opposite of caring. It's harmful. It's harming ourselves. It's not protecting ourselves. It's creating danger and risk for ourselves, both physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those levels. We are harming ourselves. And even if we like ourselves in some sort of egotistical way or narcissistic way, if we are treating ourselves badly, we're not loving ourselves by this definition. But when we enter into recovery, even if we don't like ourselves, if we have a sort of negative self-image, if we are caring for ourselves, I think we are actually loving ourselves. Yeah, there still might be negative thoughts, but I think that's very common. I think most of us carry around, particularly in our culture, there seems to be this sort of, called inner critic, not a phrase I like that much, but it does capture something, this sort of voice that's like, I'm not good enough. It's measuring us. And we definitely have to work with that. It's not a helpful voice. But if we are caring for ourselves, physically, emotionally, spiritually, then I think we are being loving towards ourselves. And further, if we are caring for others in these ways, I think we are loving them. It's easy to say, I love you. Not so hard, not so easy to actually take care of people and to be kind. One of the lines in the suttas says, I think to myself, why not put aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? It's a monk talking about some other monks, about taking care of them. And this is the epitome, I think, of love, is putting aside what my preference, what I want to do, and doing what this other person needs and what's going to help them. Now, of course, there's a risk in that if we're always putting aside what we wish to do and doing what others wish, this is kind of the definition of codependence. So I'm not suggesting that that's just a single rule. The Buddhism, we're always kind of have to look at what's the middle way. So taking care of ourselves, taking care of others in some balance. So that's one way that I think we can look at recovery as an act of love, and that we can see as love is integral to recovery. Our relationships, the whole in the 12 steps, looking at the amends process, all about love, really, about taking care of others and how we have harmed others and ultimately trying to heal that. One more piece I'll bring in is that the idea of love as an aspect of, as a definition of a higher power. This is something I talked about in my second book, A Burning Desire. But as I've gotten into this topic further about love, it's been interesting to just replace the term God in the steps with the word love. So if I turn my will and my life over to the care of love, as I understand love, in some ways I find that more accessible than the word God, which can be confusing and can have a lot of baggage with it. But turning my will and my life over to the care of love has a certain resonance for me that, I'm going to try to be loving. I'm going to try to live this way. I'm going to try to feel love as well as give love. 7 steps, as we humbly asked, love to remove our shortcomings. That's an interesting idea, right? To allow love to be the transformative power in our lives. The 11th step, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with love as we understood it. Again, I think a really a powerful way to look at the steps and to look at higher power. There's no doubt that love is a power, and I can even remember seeing billboards as a kid said God is love. I thought that meant that this being God was loving in some way. But if I just think of it in more simple terms, God is love, love is God, then I don't even have to have a being involved in this. It's just the power of love is transformative and healing. So I think I'm just going to open it up with that. That's kind of the main sort of themes that I'm interested in exploring, both the question of what is love, both love, both as protection and as non-hatred, and then the question of how that love can be viewed as a higher power. I think, the last thing I'll say, so people are maybe thinking of questions, hopefully. The last thing I'll say is that in the 12-step literature, one of the things that's sort of a very common thing that people repeat is that resentments are the number one killer. And so another way that love or ill will is part of this recovery process, dealing with that. And so obviously love, in whatever way we're able to manifest it, is the response to that. So, one of my goals is to make things accessible and workable. To try to take love out of this sort of dreamy, idealistic version, bring it into something very practical, like to live our kindness, to be caring for ourselves and for others. So I would say that if you are here today with me, it's an act of love for yourself, because it's caring for your spiritual condition, which is part of the healing work that we do. Okay, so questions. I think Thomas can maybe transmit them to me, not psychically, but verbally.
Can you hear the question, Kevin?
Not yet.
Anybody have questions? Go ahead and type them in the chat field. Or if you want to come on video and ask, say hi to Kevin and ask your question, let us know and we can get your video shared. So yeah, we have the next couple minutes to go ahead and go over any questions.
Yeah, and I'll say you can ask questions about anything. It doesn't have to be about what I've just talked about. It can be about meditation or Dharma or recovery, whatever is on your mind.
So I guess I'll start. I have a question, Kevin.
Okay.
It's not exactly about what we talked about, but so I've been getting more. So I started, I started my recovery with Buddhism, and got sober through Buddhism, and now I'm starting to get more into the 12 steps. And as I do that, I've come across people talking about, they talk about normies. They separate themselves very much from other people that aren't in recovery. And, with my understanding and thinking with Buddhism, I would try to separate myself less from other people. And so I kind of wonder, when people are like, oh, that's so alcoholic of you, or you're such an alcoholic, and they're really identifying with alcoholic being this identity that makes them separate from everyone else.
Yeah.
And I kind of was wondering, like, what your thoughts are on that, like, because I kind of see it as a bad thing, or maybe it just might be something that annoys me. I'm not sure. Yeah. But I was curious, since you have both in 12 steps in Buddhism.
I kind of see both sides, and I totally get what you're saying, and there is a way in which it's not helpful, and in which it can be even kind of creating a victim mentality, or but it's also about it's partly also about relating to each other and feeling connected, and so it's sort of tribal, but it's sort of like nice to be in a tribe in a way. So I guess I take it as like not to take it to try to take it lightly in a way, to kind of see, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Like, yeah, there are these, these certain qualities. I mean, because I don't separate, as you say. I mean, I do and I don't, but separate normies from addicts. But I think of addiction as on a continuum, and that all humans have these tendencies of craving and attachment and desire, which is obviously what the Buddha was talking about. And that when it gets to a certain point, it sort of crosses the line into what we call addiction. So in that way, yeah, we're not any different. We're just a slightly different version of normal, if that. But yeah, on the other hand, we're in this community, and what really makes us distinctive isn't that we have the problem or that we have that behavior, but that we've identified it as a thing that needs to be dealt with, and that we are dealing with it in a certain way together.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what really defines our community, because there's a lot of people who are worse addicts and alcoholics who aren't in recovery. And there's lots of people who, really didn't have that much of a problem, but they found that the 12 steps and the recovery program really changed their life and helped them. So it's not that, oh, we're the really bad people and then the really bad addicts and then those other people aren't. It's more how we have defined ourselves and how we've what we're working on, how we're acknowledging that. So I'm not answering your question, but it's the best I could do.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Karen Foley asked, did you say humbly ask love to replace my shortcomings?
To remove my shortcomings. That's so step 7 says we humbly asked God to remove. Isn't that what it says? Step 6 is we're entirely ready to have God remove all our character defects. I'm getting, warping on the steps. And then step 7 is we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. So if we say we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings, entirely ready to have love remove our shortcomings, we were humbly asked love to remove our shortcomings or our character defects. Can't believe I'm forgetting the words of the steps. I have a cold, people. Sorry.
So I got another question in from Kevin Becker. He said, I liked your emphasis on balance. I think the concept of love can be challenging for addicts because we often have an overwhelming, romanticized, clingy relationship with it. For me, it's about being in touch with my heart. That's what he said.
I think that's part of it. I think there are the 3 elements. There is the felt experience, the mental state. There is the verbal expression, and then there is the active expression of love. Sometimes I don't feel loving, but I try to maintain my behavior and my speech so that I'm not creating negative effects. So that's it's I think this is really important, because if feelings are impermanent, we can't always feel good, or we can't always feel loving, or we can't always feel like, sometimes we have a feeling like I want to have a drink. So if we just are depending on that to define whether we are loving or not, I think we're going to sort of feel like, oh, I'm going in and out of being loving. Well, that's true in a feeling way, but I think in a behavioral way, we can still be kind. So, sorry.
Okay. I think that's about time, right? Or
it looks like 1:30 to me.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go.
Goes quickly.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, much gratitude to you for sharing the wisdom you've gained. So the Gautama Buddha reminds us that generosity brings happiness at every stage of its expression, in forming the intention to be generous, an actual act of giving something, and in remembering the fact that what we're given. We invite you, our participants, to show support for our teacher today by offering what you can as dana. You can use this link, which I'll post, which will take you to the BRN website. Please indicate that the gift is for the Academy, and it'll benefit both our teacher and the ongoing meetings. Our next BRN Academy is Sunday, July 1st, 2018. It'll be on Gu Devon Ashwood, so please join us. Go ahead and get this posted in the chat field for you. I'll leave this open for like 15 minutes. If you guys want to copy anything from the chat or keep talking. Thank you again, Kevin.
Okay.
May all beings be well and at ease. Have a lovely week.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, Kevin.